We're gonna do a little Hollywood action here,
Right.
and we'll be good to go. Okay, first of all, good morning.
Morning.
Would you tell me a little bit about your childhood, where you were born?
I was born at a hospital right here in San Jose called Flagler Hospital. It's not standing today, but it's one. Well, it's a nursing home now. What's the name of it? I was in a hospital. Oh, I can't think of it.
Can't think of it either. Sort of two peas in a pod.
Right.
That's okay.
It's walking distance from here,
Okay.
and that's where I was born. But my mother and father were Norcan.
Tell me about that. What is it? What is it for someone who just doesn't know? What is it? What is it to be a Menorcan? What does it mean to you?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I know they have a big celebration here for Menorcans, and there's not many Menorcans left right now. They're dying out. I mean, for myself, I'm from a large family. There were 9 of us. Well, they're all dying out. There's only a few left right now. And my father was a Menorcan. He was born in Spain. And they would name the child on whatever saint's day he was born on. Well, he was born on St. Henry. And I hate the name Henry. I can't stand it. And I was born in my father's name. Sister Mary Alonzo, that's what my father's name was, Alonzo. And his baptismal name was Henry. Because, I mean, you have to name the baby on whatever day he was born on. So, my father was a Catholic. My mother was not a Catholic. She would not cook meat on Fridays. And she was made sure everybody would go to church every Sunday. I mean, she would make sure that she'd take care of us, all of us, but she wouldn't go herself. But this little French priest, Father Coster, he used to take liking to, he liked my mother. And he'd walk, he didn't know how to drive a car, so he'd walk. He was an old French priest. And he'd walk, and she took instructions from Father, and she became a Catholic and came into the church. And I was so happy. This is what I into the convent. I remember I went to the parlor, and I got to be with my mother that day. And then I had a visit this Sunday. I had a donut with her, and that was it. That was all. And then I told her goodbye. But she became a Catholic, and she received her vows, everything, in the convent chapel. And I didn't know anything about it. It was supposed to be a surprise for me. And I was very happy because, I mean, she stuck to all of the rules. She knew all the important things that you know about not having meat, things like that. So she learned through all of it. But now Daddy wasn't one that you could follow an example because you know how men are.
Yeah. Guilty.
So, of course, I mean, I had 6 brothers, and I don't know which one I loved the best. I was crazy about. We were a very close family, all of us. Mm-hmm. And all this bickering and fighting and things going on now. And people just taking their parents to the court and suing them. It's for the birds. But I think it's awful. I don't know if they do it for show or what. I don't think they do it for money. I really don't. I mean, that's just the way they live, so they're happy living that way. But I couldn't live that way myself. After all their parents did for you, and that's why you turn around and treat them. So that's the way life is. But people love it, so as long as they're happy. I mean, I'm not going to interfere with them.
Yeah, I know your mother accepting the Catholic faith, I know, made you very happy, and
Yes,
that must have just made your family.
that was an answer to
closer.
prayer.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. So you have. So what was your childhood like growing up here in St. Augustine? What kinds of things did you do?
Oh, you could walk down the street barefooted. I mean, I used to go barefooted. And after the Easter parade, we had the Easter parade. I'd go to the parade area. You see one, and you see them all, because they're all the same. But I'd go just to see M.K. Murphy. She was beautiful on the horse. But and it was a big thing. But after that, all the tourists would leave. They'd go back because it was time for school. And they would go back and take the children. But we could walk down the middle of the street barefooted without much traffic after they'd go home. But nowadays, I mean, I have a sister, and she said, people move here. She said, I don't see why they don't stay in their own home or leave us alone. You could go shopping and you meet everybody you know, everybody knows you and you know them. But nowadays, I could go shopping and I would meet a soul I know. I mean, that's the way it is. It's growing that much. It's growing by leaps and bounds. But as far as the city goes, I mean, obviously it's happening. There's a lot of everybody knew your business. And everybody knew your family. And if you did something, you'd get a hair Columbia from your mother or your father. And then it's just like in school. You know how children were dyslexic, they were very rude and things. But that way you had to be very careful because you would be punished by your parents. And the teachers also. But nowadays it's not that way. So those were good old days.
Right.
Days we would never, I will never forget.
So tell me a little about your introduction to the Sisters of St. Joseph.
I was taught by the Sisters of St. Joseph all my life, and I lived on the street where St. Agnes, that's in North City. I lived out in North City. And it was a dead end, what they call a dead end street. There was no car that could go down there. That was where the city would dump all their trash, you know, where the trash trucks would go. And they'd dump all the trash down there. And then during the war, if you remember, if you had tinfoil or anything, you could get it in the movies free or something like that. So I'd save all the tinfoil and I'd go down and my mother would get onto us. I'd go down there barefooted. But I'd go down there anyway and we'd get tinfoil and we'd roll it up and put it in a ball. And we had the two theaters here in St. Augustine at the time, Matanzas and Jefferson Theater, where the banks are now. And so we get in the movie, you see one cowboy picture, you see them all. But there's Roy Rogers and Gene Austria and things. But, I mean, and teenagers, they don't, it's just like they don't play like they used to with tea sets and dolls and things. I mean, my sister and I, when we grew up together, Susie was the oldest one, and I was the third one. And Susie wanted to live to be 100. She did. She died when she was in her 70s. I'm in my 80s now, and I'm still living. So I don't know if I can last that long. I turned 84 just the other day.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. But it's a long life. My grandma lived to be 100. She went to the old schoolhouse. She was the last Manusia that died and went to the old schoolhouse. So they use it as a museum now.
So that was a real schoolhouse. I didn't know
Yes,
that.
it was the old schoolhouse.
Okay.
Hmm.
So when did you? Says here you got into the culinary arts. What kind of sparked your love for the culinary arts when you were younger?
I just wanted to be a sister. But I felt sorry for my brother. I had a brother named Gilbert because I put a towel on my head and I always pretend like I was a teacher. And I just loved to play school. And he was a student. He didn't know it, but I hit him in the head many times. And we were playing croquet a few years ago at Christmas time. We got it again. I don't know if you know what croquet is. I love it. And Daddy played with us. I think 8 could play. And my brother was cheating. Gilbert, he was cheating. And I was poisoned, so when I was poisoned, I could go whatever way I want and you're out. And so I caught Gilbert moving the ball. I said, Daddy, I said, you better tell Gilbert to stop cheating. I want to hurt him. And so Daddy said, son, don't do that. And about the third time I saw him doing it, I hit him in the head with the croquet mallet, and I almost killed him. I told him to stop cheating, and he was determined he wanted to catch up with me. See, I was poisoned, and I could go whatever way I wanted to now. I didn't have to go to the wickets. And Lord behold it. And I almost, but the worst thing was I had to get it. My mother was going to beat me. But I had to wait for the beating. And that was the worst thing. I waited for about 13 days.
Oh.
And I had to go out and get the peach. It's always a peach tree. Get a branch and pick all the leaves off, except for the 2 or 3 at the tip. And bring it in and give it to my mother. Oh, didn't I get it? She'd put you across the bed, and you get a spank. She said, you don't hit people in the head. We all have soft spots, and you could kill them. Well, I didn't know that, but I think that's why my brother was bald-headed, because I hit him in the head. But he never played with me since I came. I would let me play with him.
He never cheated again, I bet.
That's true. He always wanted to be the one with. And we would come and play in football or something like that. He'd never play football. Now, Bubba was a football player. And I love football. When I was finished reading that, I wanted to come back to the teacher because I got to put down what my sport was, what I liked to do. And I love watching anything with races, car races, dog races. I just love it in football or anything. That was my spare time, and my brother would call and ask me to come over and watch television with him. I knew what he wanted. He wanted a piece of pie. I had to make a peach pie. And so you could sit there all day and watch football with him. He loved it. And so and I loved it. So I'd sit there and watch. And Gilbert would watch a little bit, and he'd get up and walk out. He couldn't stand it. He didn't like it too much. So.
It was all about the pie.
Well, eating is his thing. Well, you could look at him and tell he was a deputy sheriff for about 18 years. Said he's not living now. I guess he died about 3 months ago.
Well, I'm surprised you would make a peach pie after having to use a peach switch to get.
Well, that's true. That's true. I never thought of that. Peach pie.
Tell me a little bit about your teaching experiences.
Oh, I love teaching. Toward the end of the first, I was thinking, the villas over here. My first thing I taught over there, I helped Sister Patrick. I don't know if you know Patrick. She's dead now, but she was on all of St. Augustine. She was from Ireland. But I taught with Sister Patrick Teresa. She was a wonderful teacher. But then, about 4 or 5 years after that, after I entered in 48, I got in touch with one of the sisters in Jacksonville that I knew very well. And I don't know if you know what Montessori school is. I love teaching that. That's what I ended up teaching. Montessori, I went to school for that. And she had to go to Sister Bernadette was her name. We had a beautiful school over in Jacksonville. And it was a Montessori school. And we had wonderful students and everything in it. And she went over in France and got some materials and things that Maria Montessori used when she was teaching school. And so we were teaching, so we turned out of school at St. Paul's in Jacksonville, Riverside. I was there for 18 years. We turned that into a Montessori school. And it's teaching is the same. It's just teaching Montessori is teaching a child to be independent. That's the same thing. And you know, children are going to follow whatever they see mama or daddy doing, they're going to try it. Well, that's what a child wants to do. It teaches them to be independent and do things on their own. So I had to get down, because that was a custom. You got down on the floor and you did your work on a mat, and you talked just loud enough for that child you were working with to hear, and you observe, and that's where the proof for dyslexia, everything. I don't know if you know about it, dyslexia. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's a lot of doctors and lawyers that was dyslexia. There were 3 of us in our family that were dyslexic children. 3 out of 9 wasn't too bad. Wasn't too good either, but...
Okay, we're going again. We were talking about teaching
Montessori.
So what was the part of that you really enjoyed with the kids?
Oh, I love working with the children now that I'm retired. But of course, I look back now and the way people are out in the world, I often wonder why we had to give up all the teaching. There's no sisters teaching right now. And we're doing pastoral care and things like we're busy, but they're not teaching school. And I didn't like it at all. And then I figured, well, God had a reason for doing it. And sure enough, I mean, the people were very good. And I didn't know what we were going to do. We had to find something to bring in money. See, we used to make all our money we had a huge school here called St. Joseph's Academy, and we had boarders. That's what brought the money in. The Cuban girls. We had a lot of boarders, and a lot of them were Cuban, from Cuba, and they had the money. And so that's what kept us going, plus the day students. But it wasn't like the boarders. But then we gave that up. We gave boarding school up. Eventually, that's what we started at. And then we didn't have many schools. We were doing away with them about one. So, but we survived. But I love teaching the tradition school and the Montessori school. I would go into Montessori any day. I just loved it. And you could see the progress that the children were making. They would practice what you're doing.
Long before the Florida standards that we deal with today.
The testing.
The testing, yeah. So
That's
back
right.
then it was more of teaching the whole child.
That's right, very true. Very true. And the parents would just leave them alone. I mean, when I was teaching Montessori at St. Paul, there was one little parent, if you just bring the child to the door and leave, but no, they don't want to leave. And some parents are very dominant. Well, you know yourself, you stay for there's a baseball game or a football game or something. They stay, and it's the parents that have the fight with the players. It's not the little children. The children. I mean, and they're going to do what they see the parents doing. But I don't know, it's just something. But anyway, I often wonder why we had to stop. But I mean, I could see where people, I didn't know why, like for instance, doctors and things, they were sued for this and that and the other thing. And teaching was coming in the same way. Teaching was the same way. And that's why we wanted to, that's why they got out of teaching before the trouble started. It was almost like a war. It was awful.
So, talking about today, what are your days? What do you do during the day? What brings you joy?
Well, I can't do a thing right now. I have lupus, and I have no control over anything on my left side. So I sit in this chair, but I'm a person I love sitting out in the yard and just meditate and pray and things. I used to laugh when the horses and buggies go by, and you talk about the St. Joseph, and you wanted to stop the buggy and tell the man it was and the junkies would be feeding the people. And of course they didn't believe it all about this is where the sisters live, all some of the things he'd tell them. It was funny.
But you bring a lot of joy to everyone else around you.
Oh yes,
Most certainly.
I love it. It's just like we have a beach house here in San Augustine. We own from the highway out to the ocean of Alana Beach. We own Palmetto, that's what it's called. And it's beautiful, and I love going out there to see the sisters enjoying themselves. Now myself, I'm not a beach lover. I mean, I can't swim, scared to death of the water. Well, in those days, you couldn't. The boys could do it, but the girls couldn't. No way. So just wearing lipstick was a bad thing. That was like a mortal sin. But times have changed.
You got any questions?
Sister, I hear that you like to spend time in the kitchen.
I love it.
And I wonder, are you the kind of sister that uses a recipe, or are you a kind of sister that likes to wing it?
What do you mean by winging it?
Just making it up as you go along. A little bit of this, and maybe a little bit of that.
Yes. I like doing the things in the experience with it and work it out to see if it tastes all right. I love working in the kitchen. And I love working in the patio, out in the yard, plants and things. But now I can't do either one of them. So that's the thing about it. So as I said, I sit out in the yard for hours. Or when I sit out there, I'm thinking about something that I did to maybe or something. To and I love to do things for the sisters. I love to see them enjoy themselves. And one sister said to me, she said, "Don't be spending your money on things like that. They're not putting it to you." I said, "I'm a person. I want to sit and enjoy it myself. And I am. I can't go out now. And I sit and I enjoy things. But I've always been that way, and like at the beach house. I love going out there. I used to take care of the house. And I enjoy doing it. Well, you look back over my life. I enjoy going home, taking care of my brothers. I'd go every weekend and spend the weekend there and clean the house and make their beds and things. I call it playing house.
Is there anything else that you want to share with us about being part of the Order of the Sister of St. Joseph that you just wish that we knew?
No, I can't think of anything really. I just love the Sisters of St. Joseph myself.